You probably think the Odyssey is a literary work. It's not. Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey just dropped on July 17th, and audiences, not to mention like every YouTuber with an internet connection, are treating it as a rediscovery of an ancient text, which is ironic not just because the text of The Odyssey was rediscovered in the Renaissance, but also because it's not a text. I'm just going to say it. It's a rap album. Hear me out. The poem was never a literary artifact to begin with. It was closer structurally and functionally to hip-hop than to the novel. And I mean, of course, the novel's a new thing. It's right there in the name. And I'm not alone in this. There's a ton of scholarship on it. So while the cultural commentators, especially on YouTube, are busy pretending that Emily Wilson and Christopher Nolan are butchering the literary vision of a single genius author who carefully weighed his words, quill in hand, scratching out the wrong word in favor of scribbling in the appropriate bon mot, pardon my French, that's just not how any of this works. Today, we're talking about what the Odyssey is, why I used a rapper from Philadelphia to teach Homer an intro to linguistics, and maybe even why my expert witness work on rap lyrics consistently has me making reference to classical rhetoric and the Homeric epic. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Dr. Taylor Jones. I've got a PhD in linguistics from the University of Pennsylvania, and here on the channel, I discuss everything related to language, linguistics, language learning, and culture. If you're into those topics, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. This is Language Jones. Today's video is sponsored by Monarch. My wife and I do a money check-in on Sundays, and this is basically what it looks like. 15 minutes, one dashboard. Accounts, spending, net worth, debt payoff progress, recurring bills, all in one clean view. Monarch syncs with over 13,000 institutions, so setup was fast and secure. Banks, credit cards, brokerages, everything. We're both looking at the same financial picture, which is the part that actually helped. Fewer surprises, shorter conversations. The budgeting's flexible instead of rigid, fixed versus flexible spending, our own rules and categories, organized without feeling locked in. And when something looks off, Monarch's AI uses our real financial data to explain it. I don't have to go digging. No ads, no selling my data. I'm the customer, not the product. And it's the same experience on the web and on my phone. Go to monarch.com using my link in description or scan the code on screen and use promo code Jones50 for 50% off. Now back to the video. Maybe it's because you can go to the store or go on Amazon and browse among all the different physical book translations of the Odyssey. But whatever the reason, I'm actually kind of surprised at just how many people in the hubbub around the film have acted like the Odyssey is a text like a novel or even an epic poem or ode by somebody like, I don't know, Shelley or Byron or whoever. The Odyssey predates writing, at least among the Greeks, as a means of literary composition. That means it wasn't written down, at least not at first. It was composed in performance, not written down and then recited. In fact, it was most likely performed over and over and over again, revised and reworked in performance, and only much later written down. This is where the Parry-Lord thesis comes in. The Iliad and the Odyssey were not written down by a single literate author as one fixed work. Homer, whether one person or a school, assembled the poem that we know from a large stock of formulas and episode frames, improvising within constraints. More on those in a moment. Homer, aka Homeboy from the rough, hard place, furthest up in the gloom Ithaca represent, was drawing on a lot of different type scenes and wove them together in oral performance, and only later did any of it get written down. What's that sound like to you? Well, rap is the contemporary form that most closely mirrors this. It's sometimes written but structured for live delivery with stock phrases and flows that can be adapted every set. Most of the written rap lyrics you might even consult are crowdsourced by people who didn't compose them but heard them performed. There's a whole separate video to be made on all the problems with a site like Genius, formerly Rap Genius, but that will have to be for another day. Leave me a comment if you want that. Now, how do you remember and improvise around 12,000 lines of epic wandering, battle, shipwreck, magic, lies, and murder? Well, meter and rhyme, and yes, that is the name of my new album. Plenty of people could recite all of Illmatic or Black on Both Sides if you just give them the first line. By the way, is Nas saying, I don't even know how to start this shit, kind of, sort of the same as an invocation to the muse? A little? Yeah? Anyway, in the Homeric epic, the frame is dactylic hexameter. A dactyl is a long syllable and too short, that's why I usually call it a dacatyl. And hexameter, while it might sound like it casts a spell on you, just refers to having 6 dactyls per line. While that is particularly suited to ancient Greek, just like iambic pentameter is well suited to English, it can also be used to great effect in English. Don't believe me? Here's MC Dangermouth using dactylic hexameter for an extended flow.
Yo, the mistake that is made many times, that which aches in my mind is when fakes try to rhyme and they take penny lines to put stakes against mine. But I break some like spines, cause I make plenty rhymes that are dimes.
After filming, I realized you could view those as anapests. Here's 2 examples of dactyls, both from Blackalicious.
Prevalent melanin, elephant billing, and carrying sedatives that'll give average letterman calluses.
The heavens and benevolent medicine man, reverend, peddling deliverance that resemble amphetamines.
For the poet, the meter's not ornamental. Pulse is mnemonical. That's how you write an impossibly long chronicle. That or recite, because writing is wrong, I know. Memory logic, bro. The beat is how you remember 12,000 lines without a page. And yes, the previous explanation was a rhyming couplet in dactylic hexameter. If you're thinking, wait a minute, why don't more linguists become rappers? Allow me to direct you to my favorite Dutch hip-hop duo.
I'm bad at dealing with feelings when they irrational. But now I'm asking you, where did all the passion go?
Both hip-hop and Homer make use of a small stock of epithets like rosy-fingered dawn, gray-eyed Athena, the wine-dark sea, much enduring Odysseus, that recur just as frequently as mighty Mos or young Hove or whatever. Take your pick. And what makes these different than a lazy repetition or a verbal tick, Steve Holt, is that, as Parry argues, they're metrical stock phrases that fit the line. Like, I'm not even going to try to say this. Which is answering him, he said, and which appears dozens of times, always in the same metrical position in the line. It's the don't stop, get it of the Homeric world. And there's a few that can all be swapped out based on what's needed for meter, like choosing between Eminem, Slim Shady, and Slim. It's not just form, though. There's also themes. Both deal with braggadocio and the heroic self, which sounds like a great title for an academic monograph. Both hip-hop and Homer have an emphasis on what the Greeks called Kleos, glory, fame, the memory that outlives you. It's the explicit goal of the Homeric hero. What difference is there really between something like Mos Def saying, I'm fantastic, furious like the 5 from Belon, Brooklyn, Phenom? Just play Mos doing it.
Fantastic, furious like the 5 from Belon, Brooklyn, Phenom.
And Odysseus saying, I am Odysseus, son of Laertes, known to all men for my cunning. This one's so obvious, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. People have written entire books on the cipher as contest for Kleos. But there's also the fact that the poem is a medley. It's episodic and nonlinear. The Odyssey doesn't begin at the beginning. Odysseus is already mid-journey in Book 1. The Trojan War is backstory. It's not until books 9 through 12 that we get Odysseus narrating his own adventures in the first person, a man telling his own myth, his own origin story in real time. This is the structure of a rap album, not a through-composed narrative, but a collection of episodes, features, and set pieces organized around a central persona. This is also what makes it hard to adapt to film. Christopher Nolan's challenge is to linearize something that was never linear and tell the visual story when it's kind of secondary to the words in the first place. And just as with hip-hop, where there were freestyles, ciphers, live sets that were never recorded, the culture produces more than survives. Homer got documented with a new technology, writing. The hip-hop that you're familiar with only made it to you in all likelihood through documentation with another new technology. But even when it comes to the film and film adaptations, there's the question of what becomes canon. Which version of Odysseus gets fixed in cultural memory is partly a function of who has the 250 million and the IMAX cameras. And not for nothing, Nolan drew on Emily Wilson's 2017 translation, itself a choice about which Odysseus we get. Her Odysseus is less grandly heroic, more calculating, and morally complicated. I actually talk about Emily Wilson and whether her translation is a woke reworking of the Odyssey in another video I'll link at the end. I gotta shoehorn in a call to action somewhere in this video, so it might as well be here. If you want to learn linguistics, be sure to check out my upcoming self-paced digital course, The Language Blueprint. Link is on screen and in the description for the waitlist and for updates. So to close this out, I could talk a whole mess about how the question the Nolan film implicitly raises is, what does it mean to adapt an oral poem into the most visually spectacular medium that we have? Or some other philosophizing. But if I'm being honest, I just really wanted to talk about how cool the Homeric oral tradition was and how it's also not so far from us as we may think. People still do almost exactly that, but without always having the same cultural importance ascribed to their works. And yes, the poem survived because it was built for repetition, variation, and live performance. The same structural features that make hip-hop durable. And what gets lost in the IMAX transfer is exactly what those two forms share. So go out and pick up a translation or two if you haven't, and think about it as the world's oldest rap lyric sheet. It's a fun way to read it. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, you can always support it right here on YouTube with super thanks or over on Patreon at patreon.com/languagejones. Please leave me a comment. They are great for the algorithm. And subscribe if you haven't already. And check out my upcoming linguistics course here. Until next time, happy learning.